So if you have experience as a childcare centre manager in your home country, but you don't have the study, it is necessary for you to study that occupation here in Australia. And why is that? Well, basically because in order for you to either be sponsored by an employer or for you to apply for an independent skilled visa, you need to have a minimum of a diploma in a relevant qualification related to childcare centre manager in order for you to either be sponsored or in order for you to receive a full skills assessment. So childcare centre manager is not one of those occupations that accepts only work experience to then allow you to continue to work. You need to make sure that you have the relevant qualification in order to work in that occupation. Now, childcare centre manager is slightly more tricky as well, because if you're going to be sponsored by an employer, you actually need to have a minimum of a bachelor's degree in order to be sponsored. But if you're going to go for a skills assessment, all you need is a diploma. So it's quite interesting in that a bit of a variety there with regards to childcare centre manager. So childcare centre manager is one that you want to make sure you know enough about. What is the visa you're going for? Are you being sponsored? Do you have the relevant qualification, or are you going to be going for an independent skilled visa? Do you have the relevant qualification for that as well? So keep that in mind when you're going, when you're considering your work experience in your home country. As a childcare centre manager, if you have experience in your country of origin, you can use this to count towards experience to apply for a full skills assessment. What they're looking for is evidence of at least 3 years of full-time or part-time equivalent work experience as a childcare centre manager. Now, the most important thing is they want to make sure that these 3 years, you've at least got their recently obtained 3 years as well. So if you, for example, have arrived in Australia and you have the qualifications that are relevant and you're now looking at getting a skills assessment, you need to make sure you've got 3 years of work experience, and this can count towards receiving a full skills assessment here in Australia. What are they looking for in terms of evidence of your work experience in your country of origin for a childcare centre manager? You need to make sure you've got evidence of pay. So you've basically been receiving a salary while you've been working for those 3 years. Obviously, employment letters are going to be necessary. But the most important thing is those employment letters spell out the duties during your employment when you're working as a childcare centre manager. They want to make sure that you were actually performing the role of a childcare centre manager while you were working. Otherwise, it won't count towards experience to a full skills assessment. So keep in mind, do I have evidence of my work experience? And then do I have 3 years full-time work experience? For a childcare centre manager, the skills assessment body who evaluates your skills assessment is called ACE CQA. Okay, so it's Australian Children Education and Care Quality Authority. There used to be a time where you were evaluated by an entity called TRA. That's no longer relevant. So the entity that evaluates your skills assessment is obviously now another one, and this has been around for about a year, if not more. What this entity is looking for is they evaluate your skills assessment based on the visa that you're going for, and they provide you with that skills assessment, which you obviously can use for a skilled independent visa, for example. So if you're looking at applying for a skilled independent visa, you need to make sure that you've got your full skills assessment from ACE CQA. So that's really important. When they're looking for what qualifications you have, they want to make sure that you've got a diploma in a relevant qualification. When they're making an assessment on your work experience for a full skills assessment, they need to be 3 years minimum when it comes to a full skills assessment. If you're going for a graduate visa, this is somewhat different. They're not looking for 3 years, they're just looking for the relevant diploma, and they're also looking for a certain number of hours that you've worked while you've been studying. So keep that in mind if you're either going for a graduate visa or you're going for a full skills assessment.